Good morning, students. Now, students, today let's start our topic with this question: how is federalism practiced? Now, you see that constitutional provisions are necessary for the success of federalism, but these are not sufficient. If the federal experiment has succeeded in India, it is not merely because of the clearly laid out constitutional provision, but the real success of federalism in India can be attributed to the nature of democratic politics in our country. अगर हम कहें कि इंडिया में फेडरल एक्सपेरिमेंट बहुत सक्सेसफुल है तो ये केवल इसलिए नहीं कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में लिखा गया है, बल्कि इसलिए कि इंडिया में जो डेमोक्रेटिक पॉलिटिक्स है उसका नेचर ही ऐसा है. दिस ensured that the spirit of federalism, respect for diversity and desire for living together became shared ideal in our country. Let us look at some of the major ways in which this happened. Now, how federalism is practiced in India? For that, there are several factors, and the first one is creation of states on the linguistic basis. This was the major test, first and major test for democratic politics in our country. If you look at, earlier we saw the map, looked at the political map of India when it began its journey as a democracy in 1947 and that of 2013, you will be surprised by the extent of the changes. Most old states have vanished, उनको हटा दिया गया, ख़त्म कर दिया गया, and many new states have been created. Areas, boundaries and names of the states have been changed. In 1947, the boundaries of several old states of India were changed in order to create new states. And this was done to ensure that people who spoke the same language lived in the same state. Some states were created not on the basis of language but to recognize differences based on culture, ethnicity, or geography. So these include states like Nagaland, Uttarakhand, and Jharkhand. So this was the first test which was made just after the independence to make federalism more success, that creation of linguistic states. Now, when the demand for the formation of state on the basis of language was raised, जब ये डिमांड उठाई गई थी कि हम स्टेट्स को बनाएंगे लैंग्वेज के बेस पे, some national leaders feared that it would lead to the disintegration of the country. The central government resisted linguistic states for some time, इसलिए सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ टाइम तक रोक लगा दी थी. But the experience has shown that the formation of linguistic states has actually made the country more united. It has also made administration easier. Now, the second way which was taken to make federalism successful in a country was language policy. That this a second test for Indian federation is the language policy. I mean to say that our constitution did not give the status of national language to any one language. Hindi was identified as the official language, but Hindi is the mother tongue of only about 40% of the people. Therefore, there were many languages or many people who wants to safeguard to protect other languages. Besides Hindi, there are 21 other languages recognized as scheduled languages by the Constitution. Now, a candidate is in an examination conducted for the central government position may opt, वो कोई भी opt कर सकता है, to take the examination in any of these languages. States too have their own official language and much of the government work takes place in the official language of the concerned states. Unlike Sri Lanka, अब श्रीलंका में तो सिन्हला को प्रमोट किया गया था, the leaders of our country adopted a very cautious attitude in spreading the use of Hindi. According to the constitution, the use of English for official purpose it was to stop, इसको stop करना था in 1965. However, many non-Hindi speaking states demanded that the use of English continue. For example, in Tamil Nadu, this movement took a violent form. As a result, the central government responded by agreeing to continue the use of English along with Hindi for official purpose. Many critics think that this solution favored the English speaking elites, but promotion of Hindi was also made continue to be the official policy of the government of India. Promotion does not mean that the central government can impose Hindi on states where people speak a different language. इसका मतलब ये नहीं था कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट हिंदी को ही इम्पोज करेगी, बट द फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी शोन बाय इंडियन पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स हेल्प्ड. लेकिन जो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी इंडियन पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स ने दी, आर कंट्री अवॉइड द काइंड ऑफ सिचुएशन दैट श्रीलंका फाइंड्स itself in. Now, the third major test which was taken to make federalism strengthened in the country is center-state relation. Restructuring the center-state relation is one more way in which federalism has been strengthened in practice. How the constitutional arrangement for sharing power work in reality depend on to a large extent on how the ruling parties and leaders follow these arrangements. अब जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अरेंजमेंट्स है, जो पावर शेयरिंग का, वो काम करेगा तो रियली डिपेंड करेगा कि रूलिंग पार्टी और लीडर्स उस अरेंजमेंट को कैसे फॉलो करते हैं. For example, for a long time, the same party ruled both at the center and most of the states. So this meant that the state government did not exercise their rights as autonomous federal unit. कि बहुत टाइम तक क्योंकि स्टेट गवर्नमेंट और सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट सेम ही होती थी, तो इसलिए स्टेट गवर्नमेंट अपनी ऑटोनोमस पावर यूज़ नहीं कर सकती थी. As and when the ruling party at the state level was different, the parties that ruled at the center tried to undermine. और जहाँ जहाँ पर स्टेट लेवल में अपोजिशन पार्टी थी, डिफरेंट पार्टी रूल करती थी, वहाँ पर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट पूरी कोशिश करती स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की पावर को अंडरमाइन करने के लिए. In those days, the central government would often misuse the constitution to dismiss the state government that were controlled by rival parties. And this undermined the spirit of federalism. But all this changed after 1990. Because during that period, there was a rise of so many regional political parties. And this was the beginning of era of coalition government at the center. बिकॉज नो सिंगल पार्टी गॉट अ क्लियर मेजोरिटी इन द लोकसभा, क्योंकि लोकसभा में किसी भी पार्टी को सिंगल पार्टी को मेजोरिटी नहीं मिली, द मेजर नेशनल पार्टीज हैड टू एंटर. इसलिए बड़ी बड़ी नेशनल पार्टीज़ को एक अलायंस में समझौते में आना पड़ा विद मैनी पार्टीज इंक्लूडिंग सेवरल रीजनल पार्टीज टू फॉर्म अ गवर्नमेंट एट द सेंटर. एंड दिस लेड टू अ न्यू कल्चर ऑफ पावर शेयरिंग, और जिससे पावर शेयरिंग का ही एक नया कल्चर आया, एंड रिस्पेक्ट फॉर द ऑटोनॉमी ऑफ स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स. This trend was, now let us see, this trend was supported by a major judgment of the Supreme Court. इस ट्रेंड को सपोर्ट किया सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी, that made it difficult for the central government to dismiss any state government. और जिससे ये सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के लिए मुश्किल हो गया कि किसी भी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को डिसमिस नहीं कर सकती in an arbitrary manner. And thus federal power sharing is more effective today than it was in the early years after the constitution came into force. Now, this cartoon will make the things easier for you. Now, this cartoon or above picture, this picture shows the time before 1990 when the central government was more powerful, and these were the state governments, and they just had a bowl in their hands and they wanted some powers from the central government. But after 1990, the picture was totally changed, and now these regional parties or these state parties who formed a chair for the central party, they worked as the bomb. And if the central party or central government will not give them their independent powers, surely they will dismiss the central government. So in this way, the federalism, it became very strengthened, or it became powerful in India. So this is all for the day, and rest of the work we will do tomorrow, and we will start our chapter from decentralization in India. That's okay for the day. Thank you and have a nice day.